investors have often been put off by the volatility of Bitcoin. But now, Nvidia, one of the best performing tech stocks, Magnificent Seven. The volatility of Bitcoin currently is already, on a rolling average fallen below Nvidia, and we expect that to continue and to stay that way through 2026.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Bitwise Asset Management European Head Bradley Duke. Bradley, very good to speak with you and Happy New Year. It's been a positive start to 2026 for Bitcoin. We've had some gains over the past few days. 2025, a bit of a roller coaster, though, hitting new highs of over $126,000 in October, losing all of those gains in November and December. Is the 4-year cycle broken?
Happy New Year, Stephen. Yes, I think definitively we can say the 4-year cycle is broken. And for those who are not familiar with this 4-year cycle, since the inception of Bitcoin, every 4 years we've had three up years, and then in the fourth year, we've had a down year, and that's repeated itself again and again. And people have attributed that behavior to, amongst other things, the halving, where Bitcoin, the rewards, the block rewards given to miners is halved and programmed to halve every 4 years. But what we saw, 2025 was meant to be the third year in the cycle, so it should have been an up year. And what we had, in fact, was overall for the year -4% for Bitcoin. It doesn't mean it was a bad year. As you mentioned, we did have those highs of over 126,000, all-time highs over 126,000 in October. But what happened was, and Jordi Visser called this the Bitcoin silent IPO, is that a lot of the early holders, on reaching these new all-time highs, decided to take profits and sold into those all-time highs, and actually that brought the price down significantly from which levels it didn't actually recover. It has, as you mentioned, this year so far, 2026, Bitcoin has risen 7%, and we actually, we were expecting good things in 2026.
So with that 4-year cycle broken, Bradley, will 2026 then be an up year? What are the drivers for Bitcoin this year?
Well, that's a very good question. So historically, we've had one of the drivers has been behind Bitcoin's performance in 2025, and certainly driving it to new all-time highs was institutional adoption, and institutions buying into Bitcoin, and often in the form of Bitcoin ETPs. So like the ones we have in Europe and in the US, and actually now around the world, Australia, Hong Kong, there's many countries and regions now have some sort of Bitcoin ETF or ETP. And actually, those have been so popular that in 2025, even with gold having a phenomenal year in 2025, and just having marking up incredible performance, we saw inflows into gold, Bitcoin ETPs outstripping even the inflows into gold ETPs for the year. And those Bitcoin ETPs were actually absorbing all of the new Bitcoin supply that was being mined, and some. So really just soaking up all the new supply, and that was, really helped to drive the prices up to new all-time highs. And of course, besides the institutional investor, we also have strong macroeconomic tailwinds helping to drive the price of Bitcoin, and those haven't subsided. In fact, they've continued to grow. So historically, we have seen that Bitcoin is the price of Bitcoin is really driven upwards by the expansion of global money supply, and that actually tracks quite neatly, or it did until kind of the middle of last year, where it started to break away, and the global money supply has far outstripped or moved way ahead of where the Bitcoin price should be. We expect in 2026 that there'll be a correction, and that will start to normalize, which would mean the price of Bitcoin should move up. Of course, there's no crystal ball, and as we've talked about before, we don't, past performance is no predictor of future performances, but we fully expect that with this expansion of money supply, and including the US dollar and Bitcoin being primarily a dollar denominated asset, that this will push the price higher in dollar terms. And yeah, so the one other thing that we expect to see in in 2026, and Bitwise actually makes these 10 predictions every year, which they scorecard at the end of the year to see how well they did. And Matt Hogan and his team this year have also, amongst other things, said they expect Bitcoin volatility to fall. And to fall below that of Nvidia, which is quite something because Bitcoin has often been, investors have often been put off by the volatility of Bitcoin. But now, Nvidia, one of the best performing tech stocks, Magnificent Seven, the volatility of Bitcoin currently is already on a rolling average fallen below Nvidia, and we expect that to continue and to stay that way through 2026.
And whereas Bitwise predicting Bitcoin will end 2026, Bradley?
Well, so last year we were on record saying that we expected Bitcoin to reach $200,000. It didn't, and we actually continued to support and stand by that price prediction, well through the year, but obviously, as we know, it fell short. So this year we haven't actually, gone out with a price prediction for the year, but we expect that it will reach new all-time highs in 2026. That we are pretty convinced of.
Oh, I'm sure we'll be chatting about that as the year progresses. Bradley, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Stephen.
Bradley Duke is the European head at Bitwise Asset Management.